Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Sisters and Law. We're here this Sunday with a lot of information that is bombarding the news. We're going to start off with talking about Ben Carson. So, you want to start off with this?
Tee, and I'm Rosalyn Charles, and we're going to talk about Ben. Ben, we really. He really just messed up. I think he engaged in what's called revisionist history. But he's part of the culture that is now trying to normalize the atrocities that have taken place throughout history. And in particular, this one is particularly offensive to me, as well as to you, where he's trying to normalize slavery. We came over here, according to him, seeking a better life. My life is good now, but I can't account for those of my ancestors.
I need to clarify for those of you who can get this to Ben, and hopefully Ben Carson can get it for himself. Our forefathers did not sign the Constitution. Our forefathers did not sign the Declaration of Independence. Our forefathers not one was ever released under Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. We did not come here voluntarily. We did not come here for a better life. We did not come here to allow our children an education. We came here under a boat, chained like dogs, our families torn apart. And if I sound emotional about it, it's because we put one of what we consider the smartest men intellectually at the head of HUD. And see, brother, you should have really been insulted that out of all the jobs they can give to a brain surgeon, that they would give you the head of housing and urban development. Because see, they didn't think that you were smart enough to do anything else. And they were correct. Because the ignorance that came out of your mouth that would suggest, no, I got to finish, that will come out of this man's mouth is more than an insult to me and every other African American in this country.
But it's akin to that Bill O'Reilly statement.
I don't give a damn about Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly, we don't care about what he says. When a black man says something, we have to care about
what Ben Carson says either. He's normalizing. It's like, oh, well, it wasn't so bad. At least they were fed during it. I just don't get it. I just don't understand it.
Fed? We were fed like dogs. Our food on the ground. We were chained. They're grabbing our hair like as if it's something, something from another planet. I'm not going to.
We're upset.
I'm very upset. I'm very upset.
Because we expect certain things, or at least when it comes out of the mouth of someone of a different complexion, it's one thing, but it's another thing when a brother.
No, don't call him a brother. That is, you know what? I hope most of you read the front of my Facebook page, and it was for a reason. I am not your Negro. That is a Negro. That is someone who has no sensibility. The fact that he is an ancestor of Africa. Negro, which came from the Spanish word negre, the word means black.
From the culture.
He is no longer, as far as I am concerned, he is merely a man with black skin. He bleeds for the 45th. And his blood is not the same as my blood.
Well, he's been following the 45th. He was on the train very early, and it is unfortunate.
Let's get to something important because
the
importance of it. I would want to move on because to give him any more of our time would really be normalizing his ignorance. His ignorance. And for all of our white followers, our Hispanic followers, our Asian followers, I am sure that not a Jewish person in this country would say that they came for they were in the internment camps for a better life. We were not in those boats for a better life. There are more people in the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean that were ever killed in any wars, including the Holocaust. That was the African Holocaust.
And unfortunately, that's going to be Ben Carson's legacy. Moving on, because like you said, let's not give him too much more time. Moving on. Now, you've done an extensive examination of the 45th and his ties to Russia.
I did.
And you had an opportunity to give an extraordinary graphic. And one of the reasons that we're bringing out the Russian ties is because all of these investigations, there seems to be a trail not just to Donald Trump, but a trail to Putin and a trail to billions and billions of dollars.
This is all about the money. So I asked a lot of our viewers, I put a chart up on our page, and some of you may have had an opportunity to actually copy the chart, or you can move up your page so you can look at the chart as we go along. Now we start with the 45th on one side and Vladimir Putin on the other side. Now around the chart we have Alex Schneider, Rex Tillerson, Taraf Arif, Carter Page, Felix Salter, Paul Manafort, Jeff Sessions, Michael Flynn, Jared Kushner, Roger Stone, and Donald Trump Jr. Now, why do we have these people? One person that I did leave off that chart is Wilbur Flynn. Now, Wilbur Flynn has been given the position by the 45th as the head of commerce. Why is Wilbur Flynn important? I think we need to get that one first.
He's the head of commerce. Now, under the previous administration, is it Deutsche Bank?
Deutsche Bank.
He in fact was the president?
He was the president of Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank was the largest lender to the 45th in his businesses.
And under the previous administration, the Deutsche Bank was fined significantly.
$650 million under President Obama's administration for actually laundering Russian money. Now, the president of Deutsche Bank, which is now the head of our commerce, was fined $650 million under Loretta Lynch for laundering Russian money. I mean, the connection with Russia
how does
is...
someone like that get by without a Democratic voice voicing some opposition?
I don't know. When Donald Trump is talking about, I mean, the 45th is really, he's starting to burn my brain. Did you guys see my interchange with him and Barnabas Collins? I'm telling you, he's sucking the blood life out of this country. And we say it in tongue in cheek, but it is really, really happening. Now, he had a loan from Deutsche Bank.
Yes. And
Deutsche Bank, at that time, the president was Wilbur Ross. Okay. Wilbur Ross, now somehow he gets a loan from a Russian billionaire from a property that Donald Trump owned in Florida.
And how is that, who is that Russian billionaire, and how is that person?
That Russian billionaire, some of these names are sometimes difficult.
All right.
That Russian billionaire is also a president of Cyprus Bank. Cyprus Bank, and the Russian billionaire that is the president of Cyprus Bank, I know it's all confusing, is also partners with Wilbur Ross.
I think all of this kind of comes back to the statement that the 45th made 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, that he would run for president and he would make money doing it. Now he's surrounded himself with individuals who have ties to Russia.
Let's start with Rex Tillerson, our Secretary of State. Now, most people, when we talk about positions, Rex Tillerson has the same position that Hillary Clinton has. Now, we heard from Hillary all the time. Rex Tillerson has been in this position for 50 days and has never given one interview. He has been to Russia.
He's just trying to get himself
he
together.
Has been to Japan. No. I mean, at least tell us what he was in the White House and refused to give the all of the news an interview. They were clamoring, trying to give him. Now,
he has significant ties to Russia also.
He has been
as a former Exxon chairman of the CEO of Exxon.
He is partners with Putin for over 3 decades with Exxon Bank.
ExxonMobil.
ExxonMobil.
Yes.
I'm not saying bank, the gas company.
But it's all money. And
It's all money at the end of the day.
Okay.
Now, he was given by Putin what is equivalent to our President Medal of Honor. So he was given what they call in Russia the Medal of Friendship.
But
that is
why?
the highest
But-
honor given to any. Now, he's not a citizen of Russia.
Correct. So he was given a very high honor by Putin. He's a non-citizen. I guess the question is why. There's a lot of oil. There's a lot of money in
He is
Russia
in partnership.
that Exxon was at least at that time trying to get. Are you also suggesting
How
that Putin is
many
making
more-
money off of this?
Gas, money, oil.
And Putin-
Come on,
and
remember
Putin-
we just have pipe on the United States property that's going to be going under the ground. That's by a Russian billionaire.
What's very interesting is that the 45th has also made inroads into at least deregulating the Environmental Protection Agency, or at least the regulations that were in place. But all these ties toward Russia seem to lead toward
Now, Carter
natural
Page.
resources.
Exactly. Now now look on your charts, ladies and gentlemen. You see Carter Page. Carter Page was a Trump foreign advisor. Even though Spicer got up in front of the camera and says Carter Page was unknown to Trump, then Carter Page had to admit that he, in fact, is well known to Trump. Carter Page has lived in Russia for years. Carter Page, during the Trump campaign, made a speech at one of the universities in Russia during this past summer.
Now, is it safe to say that a number of the individuals around this chart have lived in Russia, visited Russia for
And
a extensive
worked
period of time,
or worked
and worked
Russia.
in Russia, and then
But-
all of a sudden now they're back in this country?
And in direct connection with the president, and direct connect. We're not even talking about seniority connection. We're talking direct connections with Putin and direct connections with the 45th.
I wonder if we were able to see the 45th taxes, if some of these ties would come to light. Oh, he's not going to give us his taxes.
Well,
though.
I told you last week when we were discussing this, ladies and gentlemen, that while we were sleeping, the Senate actually voted that 45th does not have to give up his taxes. This is even more reason why. You can write your senators. Find out who your senators are where you live. And write your senators demanding that the president for the 45th is not given any more or any less than you are required as citizens of the United States. As the highest office in this country, we could at the very least expect that the commander-in-chief, if he is to command and be the chief of all American citizens, that he can do at least the amount that is required by us.
Exactly. But also what it would do, it would just lift this cloud, assuming this cloud can be lifted, that exists on his administration that suggests that Russia is running or has significant influence within the United States. And if he would reveal and be more open and transparent, maybe, just maybe, we'd stop asking or wondering about these questions, except to start weaving and webbing
Now we
all
get down
of these individuals
to now
together.
you have Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort, again, like I said, was the advisor before Kellyanne. Now, Paul Manafort, he got so entangled with one of the Russian oligarchs that there was he got caught up in what may have been a little web where somebody had sent an email to his daughter that they had some dirt on her, and that if he did not do some finagling, that they were going to put out some false information on him.
That was during the Trump campaign.
That was during so he resigned.
He resigned.
He
from
resigned
the
in
Trump
August. Now, but he received $127 million from another Russian oligarch named Viktor Yanukovych. Now,
For what purpose?
Now, see, there's two things going on. Russia is trying to take over the Ukraine. Now, I know none of this matters to you. Ladies and gentlemen, you could say, I'm trying to figure out if my taxes are going to go down. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to get a job. Well, if we're giving all of our money to the Russians and the Russian government, and we're allowing people to come over here and get salaries like $125 million. Paul Manafort got $125 million from the Ukraine. Now, when the RNC bought their platform, the 45th didn't ask for anything. He didn't even ask for the band. He didn't ask for anything on the platform. But he asked this gentleman named J.P. Gordon.
All right.
On his behalf. First, J.P. Gordon, when he was interviewed on MSNBC, denied it. Then he came.
Now, who is J.P. Gordon?
J.P. Gordon was another Trump ally. He wasn't given a specific job, but he did work within the administration.
The administration or the campaign?
The campaign.
Okay.
The campaign.
Okay.
He went on and he said, by Trump's, his personal request, because the Ukraine was asking the U.S. government for more funds to fight against the Russians.
And interestingly enough, the 45th says don't give Ukraine any monies to fight Russia. What is this love affair? It's a money affair.
It's a money affair with Russia. Because we know
the 45th is going to make money, his businesses.
Before, now we know the 45th has been doing these, the Miss Universe. He has tried to do vodka that fell apart. A Trump Russian vodka.
I'm liking
he
the
tried
natural resource
to do
aspect of all of this. Because that's
the gas.
I'm liking the banking aspect of this because that's where the substantial cash is. Miss Universe, I'm sure he makes a few million or off of that, but I mean, I imagine that there are billions
I think
of dollars.
I think that's
that
money.
can be-
I think that's money laundering. I think that's really a way to get his money. I think that's really a way to get his money through Russia, just like Russia.
That's a serious accusation.
Like
the wiretapping, like Obama wiretapping the president.
Wait a minute. If he can throw out things with absolutely no ties to it, I think it is very. You can actually get the ties why he needs to get as much money out of this country into something else, so that all the money that he owes is no longer in banks in the United States. That's what money laundering is. Being able to put your money through a legal entity and roll it back around. This is what this billionaire in Russia has done.
So are you suggesting that Trump Enterprises, for lack of a better word, is in substantial debt and is trying to get out of it?
But that's why we can't see why is anyone get audited by the IRS? If your taxes are clean and you have been doing everything
because there's certain red flags that appear
for 14 years.
Exactly.
14 years.
Red flags.
I mean, at the end of the day, the United States public has a right to know why our president has been under audit with the IRS for 14 years.
Consistently. Not just one return, not just 1 year, but every year he files his taxes, he's audited.
But he wants it. But it's very difficult for you to believe, or for any of us to believe, that he wants to make himself one of the richest men in the world, but yet he's so rich he can't handle his own money.
Well, let's get off Russia just for a moment, because
he's giving me a headache.
Another aspect of the 45th making money, last week China approved a number of trademark and or patents utilizing a logo saying Trump, and it's red, white, and blue. I wonder what's going to happen there. Is that another way the 45th is going to make money, or his company is going to make money? Not just in Russia, but in China now.
The first U.S. president that makes money off of the position. I mean, you also have, remember the businesses that are in Washington, D.C. that are now complaining because Trump's name is causing visitors that comes to Washington. The hotels.
Well, his hotel, but in particular, there's a group of restaurants who are now complaining that they're losing business because everybody's going to the Trump Hotel. What is it called? Well, that's a case where Trump is actually paying the U.S. government because he's leasing
How-
an old federal building to house his.
But how
but
can you
small potatoes?
But that's the
and
whole
even exchange.
point. You cannot be in business while you are the president of the United States. We do not know that this man divested anything.
He didn't. If he did, he would tell us. You know he would.
No, I wouldn't think he wouldn't tell us a thing. As long as we keep asking, he's just not going to answer the question. And nobody is asking him enough questions. I mean, each and every week, I know
He's got the Senate on his side and he's got Congress on his side. He's got a majority. They're not going to say anything, with the exception of very few,
but let me
like
tell
John
you
McCain,
something.
are going
John
to
McCain
raise...
is the only one that's got backbone, because let me tell you something. When Cruz, after this man claims that his father co-conspirator to kill Kennedy, he basically called his wife ugly by comparing, not that Melania Trump is the most beautiful thing in the world, but he did a more of a fashion shot of Melania. And anytime you can if you can snap this phone right now and get me with my mouth open, my head knocked, and basically compare a non-attractive picture of Cruz's wife, and Cruz called him a sniffling coward.
So now your point is Cruz now is back in bed with Trump.
You know what? I'm going to hate to have to admit to right now, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm only going to say it this one time, so get it while I'm going to say it. The house nanny may have told the truth. There is some bow downing going on. Cruz is bowing down. He came to the man's house for dinner with his wife and children after he basically called his father an assassin.
The Republican voices, for most part, have bowed down. But why are the Democratic voices so silent?
Well,
are they bowing down also?
I'm not quite sure they have gone along with because right now he's crumbling without them having to say very much.
They're just going to allow it to unravel.
Because at the end of the day, this man has accused President Obama of a criminal offense, and 14 of our Secret Service, our FBI, our CIA, our NSA, all of our governmental entities have basically said that this man has no basis. I mean, I really understand. I'm talking about you have 45th. You have such an inferiority complex. President Obama must really, really cause you not to sleep at night. That you have to wake up out of your...
Now we're talking about
it. But this man wakes up out of his sleep with President Obama on his mind.
We talked about that last week. But now we've got a situation
where
no one is backing up.
But he's got to show for it. Now this is not going to be left. This is not going to be left for merely his just spewing. I keep telling you,
why are we talking about all of this? Why is this part of the news cycle? What is he distracting us from now?
Everything is distraction. The only distraction is from his money. I think we have to understand, because as he changes each and every person in these positions, they are in a place to guard his money. He thinks, for instance, that Jeff Sessions is his private attorney. And Jeff Sessions is actually acting as if he's his private attorney.
Well, he can't do anything with the Russian investigation.
But what he can do is do something about some of the laws that... He only recusing himself from that investigation. There are other things that Sessions will have control over. The bans. We have not forgotten the immigration bans that are still going on, and the people that have gotten caught.
There's an executive order part 2. Essentially, what happened?
Hawaii is already on it.
We've got a new executive order which basically followed the ruling of the
previous
district. It followed the judge's ruling. Mm-hmm. And they've seemingly plugged up all the holes, and now it's not going into effect, assuming it even gets that far, until March 15th. But, let's see how they changed it. What they've done now is they put a temporary halt on the U.S. refugee program, not just specific to Syrians, but just a temporary halt in general. they have stopped all new visas. All new visas are basically people trying to travel from 6, not 7 countries. So they've taken off, I believe, Iraq. But now the 6 countries are Iran, Syria, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen and Libya. What else has happened? Now, I'm curious as to why Iraq has been left off the list. I mean, that is a country, I guess, that
we need to search and see if there's some money going to Russia somewhere. That's probably what it is.
But this is a country that we bombed and destroyed, so I guess they're going to give them a break. So I guess people from Iraq can come to this country, if that's the way it seems.
You know what? We need to look at the places that Russia is bombing.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, because now we're stopping people. See, there's confusion. We use these words, migration. We use these words like as if people are coming. They're migrating for a better life. But refugees,
yes,
refugees are running for their life. Mm-hmm. And so when you hear these words, there's a big difference between an immigrant and a refugee.
Right. Another aspect, not just with respect to refugees, but I guess it does apply. In the previous executive order, they gave preference to Christians. Now there is no religious preference. But I guess the bigger question now is the old order, or the ban itself, is still halted or has been stopped by the courts. How is this new order going to meld in all of that?
Oh, and
Hawaii is already the state of Hawaii is already suing. Washington has joined in, and on some levels, both entities, both states have said this is it's still a Muslim ban, and that's just the way I read it, also.
And while you were sleeping, ladies and gentlemen, did you find out that you're not getting a fence?
What happened to the fence?
No, you're not getting a fence.
What do you mean? It costs too much?
Absolutely, because he is now admitting.
Who said that? The 45th said
the 45th,
no fence, no wall.
Let me say,
Mexico?
He said because
so we
the
can
reality,
keep people out the air, but
the reality of it is that we can't make another country do anything. Come on now. We can barely get him to do anything. You're going to make another country pay for a fence, but to see, we rode this lie all the way to the White House.
People are saying that if all of the things that the 45th wants to do, the wall, which means the revitalized immigration plan, deportation, he's going to add substantial debt, additional debt to this country. Coming up with hiring more ICE officers and all of that, it's going to take years. They want to build detention centers. We haven't even talked.
We're going to need all of next week to talk about the Republican CARE Act.
Obamacare?
No. Because it probably
affordable.
It ain't going to be affordable because this is only going to benefit the top 1%. If I have to take a Bernie, Sanders.
Going to disaffect and to the detriment of
20 million people will be dropped off of their health insurance because you will no longer be able to afford it. That's if. But I do think, when you have two factions of the Republican Party, okay? You have the Federalists. They're right of the right. They're not having it. Have we really tied or wrapped everything up? We may have to see what our show on Wednesday. We have a tape show that's coming up on Wednesday. Yes.
We need you to hit us up on Twitter. Join us on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. But on Wednesday, our tape show is coming up, and we'll be talking about our webpage,
everyone.
Our webpage's up
www.sistaslaw.com. Hit us up because there's a lot of information.
That's a new thing. But the new
Make sure you do that.
The new show's about the Republican agenda, whatever that is. Black Lives Matter and police brutality. I think because we have not stopped mattering. We may not be talking about it. How much more time? Because we're pretty much
done.
We're done.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I am so sorry that my brain was about to burst with so much that I want to say to you.
You were very upset with Ben, and you continue to be very upset with Ben.
I am.
It's It's not okay,
my
but it's okay.
Soros, she keeps me under control. But you
don't give
guys,
me all that credit.
you keep me excited.
Okay.
You give me so much information to talk about. But remember, we have our
45th
Instagram,
does.
our Twitter, our Facebook Live. Now we have our webpage and our Instagram. Please continue to engage with us, have a conversation with us.
Join our
Give us
conversation.
as much as you want, because see, I am the researcher. I will research and find out every cotton picking thing that we can find out
Watch
about
the symbolism.
about the 45th.
Tell Ben about Ben Carson
don't
about picking cotton.
Don't let me say
let's
cotton
stop,
picking.
let's stop.
Lord have mercy.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you next week.
Take care.
With Sisters and Law. Thank you very, very much.